Friends, please be seated. Hey, I just wanted to highlight something real fast. A couple of things. I know we got a bunch of our folks today who are running the great race. Let's be in prayer for them throughout the day. They may have finished already. They may still be chugging away. But I know a number of our folks said we won't see you this morning because they're down there in Pittsburgh. We want to recognize that. But also, something Amber prayed. Do you know the youth are doing an outreach in Jeanette this Thursday? If you're not familiar with the gym, GYM, it's called God's Youth in Motion. And every first Thursday of the month, our normal youth worship is transformed into the coolest hip-hop Christian dance party around. We bring in, as if I have anything to do with it, Frank and his team bring in these really professional rappers from Alabama. They drive up here every month, and they have it here in this location, but it was always intended to be an evangelism night, E-night. And so they're going to take it out on the road this Thursday. They're going to be at Jeanette out by the fields. The football team over there is going to actually close practice a little early. Our youth will be there handing out water bottles, doing stuff, and inviting people. And it's going to be just outdoor, incredible worship. So let's be praying for that. It's meant to reach not only the youth of Jeanette, but anybody who happens to hear the music and come on in. And we're super excited. So Frank, thank you for the way you're leading that. It's an incredible ministry. Can't wait for it to happen. Y'all remember ghost stories? Remember those? Ghost stories. As a kid, if you ever slept out, as a kid, you remember ghost stories where your best friend's big brother had you cowering in fear in the very bottom of your sleeping bag, as low as as covered up as you could get because he was scaring the bejeebies out of you. Ghost stories. Things like the dead coming back to life and the devil and his home in hell. Wow. Spooky stuff. I remember one time my sister and two of her friends, my sister's name is Sherry, and older sister, and two of her friends and she were going to sleep out one night, and that was in the day. We didn't have a tent. We just had Woolrich sleeping bag, and you throw it on the ground under the stars and sleep out for the night. And so she and two of her friends were going to sleep out. And so my best friend Jamie and I, we hatched this plan. This is going to be so great, We run inside because we knew where the girls were sleeping out, and it was by these bushes, and we knew we'd get behind the bushes. You see where this is going? And we grabbed my dad's tape recorder, and we recorded this message. It went like this: Sherry. Actually, it was more like that. We were 8. It went like this: Sherry, this is the devil. I'm coming to get you and your friends, and then we got it, and, we rewound it, and then we waited. We got in the bushes, we waited, because they were inside doing girl stuff, and so we waited, and we waited, and we waited, and finally they come outside, and Jamie, we're all half asleep, but they got outside, and they're giggling, they're talking, they let down the sleeping bags, and as soon as they quieted down, we pushed the play button, and we run for our lives. Brilliant, right? Brilliantly, didn't work at all. They're like, this is so stupid, But we thought it was great, because back then, those things were spooky. Back when you were a kid, back when you believed in that sort of a thing, or at least the idea of those things, right? But now you're a grown-up. You're a youth, or you're an adult, and you look in the rearview mirror of your life, and what you believed in or were afraid of as a kid, it just doesn't fit where you are now. Right? You've got a different worldview. You've had some life experience, and all those things you used to be afraid of, they just don't fit in the way you live. But what if they're true? What if there really is a place called hell? And what if real people really do go there? Would it change the way you live? Not just for you, but for the people around you. What do you say this morning we find out? Let's begin with a word of prayer. Father God, this morning, we don't want to miss your word to us. We don't want to miss, Jesus, what you're about to say. And so what we want to do first of all, Father God, is acknowledge the fact that what we're going to talk about isn't very popular. It's not very well received most often. But Jesus, you spoke about it, so we definitely need to hear it. And Lord God, I reckon the one who wants us to hear it the least is Satan, the enemy. And so we're going to begin this time, Jesus, by just asking you, Jesus, to rebuke him from this place so that there are no ears stopped up and no hearts covered up. Would you take away, Jesus, any influence he may be trying to have right now? We rebuke him in the name of the one who came to save us, whose blood from the cross of Calvary covers us. And we ask you, Jesus, to make us so ready to listen to your word. Father God, have your way with us. We pray these things, Jesus, in your holy name. Amen. So to catch us up from last week, we started talking last week about a parable that Jesus told. And in the parable that Jesus told last week, we found him making a distinction between people who follow the world and people who follow Jesus, right? There's a distinguishable difference between you, if you're a believer, if you're a follower of Jesus, and the people around you, like your brother, your friend, your neighbor, your coworker, your teammate, your classmate. If you're a believer and the people around you are not, there should be a distinguishable difference between your life and their lives. And Jesus was making that point in the parable we talked about last week. One of the differences that we saw Jesus highlight that we discovered last week is in the way that we use our stuff, right? Every good gift that you have comes from God. Your life is flooded with stuff. And we began talking last week about how Jesus laid it out for us, that how we leverage our possessions is important to God. Because it's a way that our behavior backs up our belief. See, people of the world, they leverage their possessions usually for selfish gain, for things to please themselves. They use what they've got on themselves, or maybe some people around them, but it's still mostly centered around themselves. But people who follow Jesus, we're supposed to leverage our stuff, our possessions, to please God and to bless other people. And that's the difference between us and people of the world. We're talking about things like your possessions, your position, your power, your paycheck, some tangible things like your car and your house and your lawnmower and your kitchen table. We started breaking it down, saying, what would it look like in your life if you began to leverage your kitchen table to honor God and bless other people? And so I invited you and encouraged you to begin living that way, maybe different than we're living now. That was last week's parable, but Jesus kept talking, and he told another parable right on the heels of that parable. He told another one, and we're going to jump into that one this morning. Remember, a parable is simply this. A parable is a made-up story about real life that teaches us how to live real life. That's what a parable is. So a parable, that the one Jesus tells us today, is a story Jesus made up. And he started this parable this way. He had the people around him. He started talking about this rich guy. I mean, this guy was just fabulously wealthy. It was like Jesus began hosting Judea's, lifestyles of the rich and famous. And he said, this guy is like the top of the heap. He wears the most expensive clothes. He has the most luxurious mansion. He's got the most expensive cars. He drives a Rolls Royce, and his bumper sticker on the Rolls Royce says, all my other cars are Rolls Royces too. He's just loaded. He eats the most sumptuous food. He's got everything. He's rich. And Jesus said, but there's another guy in this story, and he's poor. As rich as the rich guy is rich, this other guy is poor, and this guy's name is... Okay, all three of you were excellent. That's great. Lazarus. Remember, this is a parable about Lazarus. This is not Lazarus that Jesus raised from the dead. That was a real event that did happen. This is Lazarus in a made-up story. In fact, this is the only parable in which Jesus gives a person a name. I don't know why he did that, and this is the only time he did it. But it's curious to me that he did. Maybe it's something he's trying to highlight for us. Maybe this really is like where people live. So here's Lazarus. He's as poor as poor. I mean, he's poorer than dirt. He doesn't even have dirt. He's that poor. And he's so poor that the scripture says, Jesus told the story, that he was dumped at the gate of the mansion of the rich guy. And all he wanted was to just receive some of the scraps from the rich guy's table. In fact, to put him down even further, Jesus said, even the dogs came and licked this guy's sores. I used to love that as a kid. Just thinking about that, man, that's just gross. As a boy, that gross is good, That's gross. Say that part again. So yeah, he couldn't even get away. The dogs would just come and lick his sores. That's how poor he was. So this guy, there's rich and there's poor. Here's what happened. If you've got your Bibles, way to go. If you don't have a Bible, I encourage you always to bring one. I don't care if it's Gutenberg or iStyle, iDevice. If you don't have a Bible to bring, we'd love to give one to you. If you need a Bible, let us know. We got them for adults, for youth, for kids. We got them all. Elizabeth, raise your hand. There's Elizabeth. She'll get you a Bible when the service is over, free. We just like to give them to you. But if you don't have a Bible, follow along on screen. We're going to start Luke chapter 16. Verses 22 through 24, and this is just following what I just told you. I kind of set the parable up, and here's Jesus continuing the story. The time came when the beggar, Lazarus, died, and the angels carried him to Abraham's side. Now first, who's Abraham? Remember who Abraham is? Father Abraham. Why do you call him Father Abraham? Is he your dad? Your dad's name's Gene. Father of many nations, way back in the Old Testament, before the Jewish nation existed, God went to this guy named Abraham. Hey, you're the man. You're the dude I'm going to use. And he said, hey, Abraham, I'm going to make you the father of nations. And so he became, from his descendants, he became Israel, the nation of Israel, and the Jewish people. And so the Jewish people called him Father Abraham. So Jesus is telling this story. He says, Abraham sighed. Now, Abraham's been dead for like centuries and centuries. Abraham sighed was a way of saying heaven. That was a phrase. When you would die and go to heaven, they said you're going to Abraham's side, the bosom of Abraham. So that's what Jesus is saying there. So the beggar died, and the angels carried him to Abraham's side, Jesus said. The rich man also died and was buried in Hades, a.k.a. hell, where he was in torment. He looked up and saw Abraham far away with Lazarus by his side. So he called to him, Father Abraham, have pity on me and send Lazarus to dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, because I am in agony in this fire. Do you know what I love about these three verses? I love the fact that with absolute crystal clarity, Jesus has just made a statement of fact that there really is a place called heaven, and there really is a place called hell. Jesus just said they both exist. And he just pointed out in this story about real life, about real things, that real people really do go to hell. We're going to find out in just a little bit what y'all believe about that, and I'm not telling you what to believe. I'm just telling you what the Bible teaches and what we believe here at the church. I don't say you have to believe that, but I'm going to invite you to believe it. But we'll find out your beliefs in a few moments. But let me tell you where our nation is. Back in 2008, the Pew Forum, who does national surveys, did a national survey about this very thing, asking, do you believe in heaven? Do you believe in hell? Are they real places? Here's what they discovered about Americans. 74% of Americans believe in heaven, while only 59% of Americans believe in hell. Interesting, isn't it? How can you have heaven without a hell, right? Well, people always want to look at the positive stuff, preachers don't preach on hell very often. You know why? It's not culturally relevant. Hey, why don't you come to church today? You know what we're going to talk about? Hell. Woo! It's going to be a great... Hey, turn the heat up a little bit while we're in here, would you please? Boy, that sermon was good. It made me feel like I was in there, But churches don't teach on it because it's kind of a downer. People want to come, they want to have their ears tickled. I know... Okay, I won't mention names. I see pastors on TV who say, I will never preach about sin and the results of sin from my pulpit. Really? Then you better get out of the pulpit, brother. Because you cannot preach about grace unless you preach about sin. You cannot preach about heaven unless you preach about hell. So preachers don't preach on it. Churches don't really teach on it because it's not really popular. In fact, at your next dinner party, you want people to leave. They're staying too long. Bring up hell. Okay? They will leave fast. Where's my coat? Got to go. Just remember, it's just not a popular thing to talk about. Some people believe that hell is just kind of this state of mind. And it's a state of our being where anytime we're separated from God, that's hell. Well, I'd say that's maybe a sliver of it. There's a lot of confusion, I think, in people's minds about what hell is and what hell is not. But as one pastor said it this way, Jesus never soft-pedaled the concept of hell. While there may be a lot of confusion in people's minds about hell, I'll tell you where there was zero confusion about hell was in Jesus' mind. Jesus taught very clearly that hell is a very real place, and real people really do go there. But we like to talk about hell, right? Ever hear someone say, man, I've been through hell? No, you haven't. Man, this place is hell. No, it's not. Well, Rich, you don't know what I've been through. You're right. I maybe don't. And listen, from the bottom of my heart, I do not want to in any way dismiss the challenges you may have faced in life, whatever they've been. But I will guarantee you that the reality that hell is so far worse than anything you or I have ever experienced in this life. Again, I don't want to belittle any pain. I've had my fair share. You probably had deeper pain than me. I don't want to dismiss that in any way. But I guarantee you that the deepest pain you and I will ever feel here will not even begin to scratch the surface of the torment of hell. Hell is something you can't handle. When my brother was in college, his name's Randy, and you've heard me talk about him before. I just love my brother without limit, so you'll hear me talking about it a lot. I love Randy to death. He's my little brother. And when Randy was in college, he was really big into bodybuilding. At that stage in the game, he was benching 500 plus. He was squatting 700 plus. Tom, you're a weightlifter. That's a lot of weight. And he's not a tall guy. He's just bang, big body, solid. And one day, he and one of his best friends, Mike, they were lifting partners, were driving back from the gym back to their dorm. And Randy apparently didn't start fast enough at the green light, so this guy behind them started laying on his horn, and just not letting up. And so Randy's a real easygoing guy. He likes people. He's kind of like me, just really enjoys being around folks. He said, I'm just going to let that go, honk away. And Randy just drove his Jeep, but this guy wouldn't let it go. He kept beeping his horn and throwing the Hawaiian good luck symbol at him, and just all kinds of other words. And Randy said, hey, this is kind of getting old now. So they got to the next stoplight. It was a red light. Randy stopped, and this guy behind him got out of his car and started walking up to Randy's Jeep, at which point Randy and Mike said, let's just get out. So they get out, and remember, they just came from the gym. They're dressed from the gym. They're pretty pumped up. They get out, boom, 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 boom. And this guy took a look at them. He got halfway, to the front of his car, turned around, and got back in his car, locked his doors, rolled up his windows, because all of a sudden he found out there was a reality of something he wasn't aware of, and all of a sudden he found he was unable to handle what he was facing. Can I just tell you the reality of hell? You can rant and rave all you want. You can say, I believe this, I don't believe that. Listen, what you believe or don't believe does not change the fact of what it is. And you are going to be faced, and I don't want to say this with any harshness, but there's going to come a day when you're going to be faced with the reality that hell is a real place and you are not equipped to handle it. You don't want to get messed up in that fight. So my hope and my invitation for you today is to at least begin to believe, or at least consider believing, that hell is a real place and real people really do go there. And that's what Jesus was talking about, at least in the first part of this parable. The rich man in our parable, man, he's in torment. He is in hell. And so he asks Lazarus, hey, just Abraham, let Lazarus come down and just dip his finger in some water to cool my tongue. You know what Abraham answered him? Abraham said, hey, Lazarus is here with me. You're where you are. And between us is fixed this chasm that cannot be crossed. You're stuck. See, when you go to hell, you never, ever leave it. Hell is only real. Hell is forever, as is heaven. And there's no way you get out of hell. That's what it is. You can't cross over between the two. Where you are is where you're going to be forever. So listen to what the rich man then said next. Now picking up same chapter 16 of Luke, but verses 27 and 28. He answered, and Jesus is still speaking, then I beg you, Father, send Lazarus to my family, for I have 5 brothers. Let him warn them so they will not also come to this place of torment. All of a sudden, something's changed. Maybe, I don't know this for sure, maybe for the first time in his life, this rich guy begins to look beyond himself to someone else. He finally realizes that where he is where he is. It's too late for him, but now there's this new sense of urgency. And what's the urgency in his voice now? For his family. What about his family? For their salvation. All of a sudden, he realizes hell is real. I'm in it. I can't get out. But man, now I'm crying out that my family, to those closest to me, the people who do life with me and around me, that they will not have to come to what I've experienced to be real. All of a sudden, this guy who's in such torment thinks beyond himself and says, I don't want them to experience any of what I'm experiencing right now. His urgency is for the salvation of the people around him. When my dad was alive, I have to get personal for a moment. I lost my dad about a year or so ago, and when he was alive, I never really knew where he stood with Jesus. Now, don't get me wrong, he went to church since he was a kid. He sang in kids' choir. I saw pictures. Hilarious. As he grew, he stayed in church. He always went to church. Our home church was Butler First United Methodist. He was always in church. I could probably count, on my fingers and toes how many times I know he missed church in my growing up years. He was always there. In fact, he also, I don't want to say he helped my mom teach the young adult class. He was there when my mom taught the young adult Sunday school class. He always carried the donuts in and helped eat them. He served on the financial team of the church. He served on the board. He was there. But I'm not sure he was there. And, because as I grew older, I kept watching my dad and how he lived his life, and he never really did anything wrong that I know of. But I could never really see fruit of a relationship with Jesus Christ. That's interesting to me. And so I asked him about it. Dad, do you know Jesus Christ is your Savior? He said, Rich, I'm good there. I'm good there. To go further, have you accepted Christ, so that you won't go to hell, so you go to heaven? Yeah, I'm set. Okay, I'm not convinced, And then my dad started getting dementia, and when he passed away, I couldn't have those conversations with him anymore. I'll be honest, I don't know where my dad is. I really don't. I hope he's in heaven, but I don't know. Because I loved my dad, I did not want him to go to hell. And so I had the courage to talk to probably the man I feared the most. You kind of fear that, talking to your parents about stuff like that. But I knew I needed to. And that's where this guy is in our parable. He's like, oh man, this is terrible. It's torment. It's anguish. I don't want anybody that I know to ever have to come here. Please, Abraham, send Lazarus back and tell my 5 brothers to repent, so they don't come to where I am. I find this interesting, by the way, interesting, just kind of a sidebar note. This rich man, when he looks up at Abraham, calls him Father Abraham. You know who called him Father Abraham? Jews. So this guy was a Jew. This guy was in the club. This guy was a church member. This guy grew up with the teachings. This guy probably went to church every week of his life. Can I just remind you, church membership does not equal salvation? Can I remind you that sitting down in a chair or a pew does not equal salvation? It's got to be more than that. It's got to be a vital, saving relationship with Jesus Christ. So here's this guy. Now all of a sudden he has this urgency for his family, and I just wonder. Abraham said, no, Lazarus, I can't send him back. I'm not going to do that. I wonder if Jesus would have said, okay, rich guy, you've got 30 minutes to walk among your family again. I wonder what he would have said. I can guarantee you he wouldn't have talked about the weather or the pirates or the family business. I like to think, I can pretty much guarantee it, he would have run to his family and would have run to his friends and he would have said, repent. Now I know. And now you've got to know too. You don't want to go where I've been because it is literally hell. And you don't want to go there. I'm going to be there for the rest of eternity, but I don't want you to be there. So I'm telling you now, repent of your sin and go to heaven. Friends, here's reality. It was too late for him, but it's not too late for you. You have the opportunity today, number one, for yourself. If you were to die, this is like the age-old question you've probably heard it 1,000 times. If you were to die today, where would you go? My hunch is there are some of you who are going to say, man, I'm going to heaven. I know I am because I trust Jesus as my Savior. Amen. There are some of you going to say, I don't know. Probably heaven because I'm a good guy. Okay, just so you know, that's the wrong answer. Being good does not merit heaven. But there are some of you who are saying, I really don't think I'd go to heaven. I really don't know. My invitation for you today is to know. My invitation for you today is to really know for sure that if you walk out of this place and you don't make it home alive, you will make it home alive. You know? But it's also not too late for you to talk to people around you. Listen, I can guarantee you that you can think of one person right now in your family, in your circle of friends, teammate, classmate, coworker, whoever. You can think of one person right now who does not know Jesus, and if they die today, they are going to go to hell. I guarantee you can think of one person, probably 10. Do you know that God gave you breath today? Not just breath to breathe, but breath to speak. And you're still here. And they are too, on this side of eternity. And it's not too late for you to go to that person and say, you need to know. Hell is a real place, and real people really do go there. Do you believe in hell? Don't raise your hand. I don't want to embarrass anyone. But let's just find out. Results of the survey. This is a survey we did at Wednesday night. If you were here at Feast, I had all these surveys out and collected, 100-some surveys that night, collected 100-some last night, collected 100 or so this morning. So hundreds of surveys have now come in, and here's what it breaks down. Do you believe in heaven? It's right about 98% of our people through Wednesday, last night, and this morning believe in heaven. 98, close on. No scientific study here, just going by raw numbers, raw figures. Charlie, I could have used you on this. This is just raw figures. About 98, 99% of us believe in heaven. About 94, 93, 94% believe in hell. That's where we stand. Hey, we're hitting better than the national average. Again, remember the national average is 74% said yes for heaven and only 59% said yes to hell. But I hope today you've heard Jesus say reality. Hell is a real place. And again, I'm not telling you have to believe that. I'm telling you I hope you will. I'm telling you that I hope you get to this point where it begins to, I don't want to scare hell out of you. I want to scare heaven into you. I want to invite you into the possible. We had those surveys, and we had some pretty good questions or responses on the bottom of those surveys, and none of yours got in there because I couldn't get those in PowerPoint. But here's some of the ones that came recently, even from Wednesday night. One person at the end of that survey asked this on the paper, is there another choice? Can I just say, no. No. You may come from a faith tradition that teaches there is another choice. Can I just tell you biblically? That's not biblical. There are two choices when you die. It's heaven and it's hell. And there's no in between. And when you go to one, you're there forever. The time to decide is now. You've got to make a decision now. And if you're opting for hell, I hope you go out sometime soon and buy some flame-resistant jammies because you're going to need them. Someone else wrote this, yes, I believe in heaven and hell. I feel sorry for those who don't. Someone else wrote this, I'm not going to hell. Thank you, Trent Soames. He signed his name. Good for you. He knows. You know where you're going, right, brother? Amen. If Trent died today, which your hope is not going to happen, You know where you're going. Someone else wrote this, I can't wait to go to heaven. I love God so much I can't stand it. 6-year-old little girl. That's Frank and Amber's daughter, Emma, wrote that one. And this one came in, hi, Dad, guess which kid this is? Yeah, well, only one of my girls was here that night, and the other one, and my boy can't write, so I know who it was. But we got some really great answers, some really great questions, and some really scary answers, too. Comments that makes my heart concerned for people right around us, even within these walls. And so my goal today is just to let you know, Jesus taught clearly, friends, heaven is real and hell is real. And people really do go there. And I hope that becomes an urgency for yourself. But I also hope this becomes an urgency for people around you. If you really do believe in hell, like about 96 or 7% of us said we do believe in hell, is that making a difference in the way you live your life? Not just for you, but for the people around you. Because if it's really real, and real people go there, then the people you care about need to know about that. If you didn't love them, if you don't love them, just let them go. They'll find out the hard way. They'll be like the rich guy who was in torment forevermore. But if you really do love someone, and you know they don't know Christ, or you're not sure if they know Christ, let them know. I'll tell you a story of my wife. I just love my wife. Man, she's so much better than me. But when we were at our previous church, God woke her up one morning, early in the morning. He said, call, I'll make up a name, call Jeff. God, it's like 6 o'clock in the morning. Call Jeff and ask him if he knows me for salvation. And she's like, boy, he's going to think I'm an idiot. Call him. And Marcia is so faithful. So she goes to the phone. She spends some time in prayer, goes to the phone. Now it's about 6:45, and she calls Jeff. And she goes, Jeff, listen, God told me to call you, ask you if you're saved. And he said, Marcia, I want you to know that I'm usually gone by now to work, but today, for some reason, I've not left yet. And I'm so glad you called. I want you to know, yes, I am saved. But today I need to be reminded of that very thing. Sometimes you got to kind of Christian up and put yourself out there and begin to ask people the tough questions. Do you know that hell is for real? And you know Jesus Christ is the only way to escape it. Friends, the parable Jesus told today is a pretty scary parable. It's kind of like a ghost story. It talks about people rising from the dead and the devil in a place called hell. But you find out it's not a kid's story. Jesus never outgrew believing in the devil and in hell. And I hope you haven't either. Now, maybe you never grew up learning about it. Maybe you never grew up with flannel board Jesus in Sunday school, right? But today you've heard the truth about hell existing. And I hope that begins to work on you in some way. And I hope that your believing in hell will make a difference in how you leverage not possessions, but now people. How you leverage your relationship with people around you. And use the opportunities you have to talk to them so that encounters with you begin to make the difference for them between heaven and hell for eternity. I want you to know that the only way to escape hell is Jesus Christ. And there may be some of you here this morning who have never made that decision. So I'm going to make an altar call today. You know, we always open up our altar before we sing our final song, and when we sing, you're always welcome to come up. But today maybe it needs to be a little bit different. You can come up for any reason, and that's always the case. But today maybe you're not sure where you would go if you died today. Why not today to be sure? Why live with the shadow of doubt? When Scripture tells us that when Jesus sets you free, you're free indeed. You're free from hell and you're free to life forever with Him. If you want to pray about that today, we're here to pray with you. I'm here to pray with you. If a youth comes up, Trent's available. Elizabeth, I'll ask you to be ready to pray with that. Christian, Francis, would y'all be ready to pray as well? Listen, Rick, you're ready to pray? Well, you'll be on the team, but just watch for that if you need to. Listen, if you want us to pray with you, we would so love to do that. But if you just need to come and have some time by yourself between you and God, that's all right too. But let me just invite you if you've never made a decision for Jesus Christ, to do so today. See, my heart is simply this. I don't want you to go to hell. I want you to go to heaven. And that's not just my heart, that's God's heart. You know that in the New Testament, we find these words that God's will is that no one would go to hell, but all would come to a saving knowledge of Him. God wants everyone to be saved. But He leaves the choice up to you, whether you want it or not. You know, people often ask, why would a good God send people to hell? He doesn't send people to hell. He lets you choose hell. You can choose to go to hell or you can choose to go to heaven. The choice is yours. Today is a good day to choose. And by not choosing, you've made your choice already. Today is a good day to choose. If you want to talk about that further when the service is done, I'll be here as long as you want. It's that important to me. Let me pray for you right now. I'm going to invite the team to come on up. Father God, we want so much to be a people who not only believe in hell, but then let that make a difference in our lives. Not just for who we are and how we live for ourselves, but Jesus, to begin to leverage the people and the relationships we have with people around us. To begin to use our relationships in such a way that we let them know that here's reality. And Jesus, once they have heard it, then the onus is on them. We can't convince them, but we can tell them the truth and pray for them and open up dialogue. And Jesus, I hope that would be the case when we leave this room today, that we'll be a people who take this so seriously, that we don't want the people living around us to go to hell, that we would be willing to step up and encourage, begin to tell them about who you are, Christ, and let that become a difference maker in their lives. So Christ, speak to us today. Encourage us where we need to be encouraged today and challenge us to be a people who make a difference in other people's lives. Christ, we commit this time to you. If there are people here, Jesus, who need to give their lives to you, let that be so today. And we will celebrate with them. Lord, I pray that there wouldn't be nothing hindering them from coming up here and say, I want to accept Christ. I want to renew my relationship with Christ. Jesus, let nothing get in their way. I pray that it would not be an uneasy thing to do, but it would be a really easy thing to do, and they would find this church family celebrating with them. That's a good thing. So Christ, have your way. Holy Spirit, reign and do what you need to do. We pray this, Jesus, in